Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Awesome, awesome. All right.
All right, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I will allow you to introduce yourself first, and then I'll let you know. When I start the time. Okay. But all right. So sorry guys for that technical difficulties. I said it's our first time doing this like this, but I will go ahead and start. Give me 1 second. I don't want to confuse you. I want you to have a good time. All right. Just give me 1 second with this. All right, Yusef. When I say start, you have the floor. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself and say what you need to say. Okay, so you can start.
Awesome. Hola, Chef Familia. My name is Yusef Haikal, and I'm a junior majoring in chemical engineering, and I'm running to be your treasurer for the 2021 and 2022 academic year. Now, I believe I'm uniquely qualified for this position because I have served on a number of leadership positions in the past, which I believe have prepared me for the responsibilities and obligations to be your treasurer. For example, a few years ago, when I was in the Boy Scouts of America, I served on a leadership position known as the Senior Patrol Leader, which more or less is the equivalent of president of like any given organization. Like they just have kind of like weird leadership names. But basically, during my tenure as Senior Patrol Leader, I helped plan and execute car washes and numerous community fundraising events to help raise money to sponsor my fellow scouts for national scouting expeditions. Now, I believe there are many parallels between what I did in Boy Scouts and what I would accomplish within SHEP, with the difference being that in SHEP, my goal would be to raise as much money to increase the amount of members we are able to sponsor for RLDC and for the SHEP National Convention, because I believe these events, RLDC and the SHEP National Convention, I believe these events are the embodiment of what SHEP stands for and SHEP's pillars. And so I can't put enough emphasis on how important it would be to increase the amount of new members we are able to send to RLDC and the National Convention. Not only that, but I really want to help raise more money so that SHEP could increase the amount of scholarships it is able to provide to its members. Not only that, but over the past year, I have served on Carolina's professional committee, and during this time, I have helped Carolina plan and execute numerous professional development events, such as resume critiques, mock interviews, public speaking workshops, you name it. And during my time in Carolina's committee, it has really opened my eyes as to how to plan and execute events on a very large scale, because SHEP is really the first organization that have joined that is
All right,
on
Yusef,
such a huge magnitude.
I believe this is time, unfortunately. Emer, do you want to go for it?
Sorry, Yusef, you're 2 minutes in, but that was a strong speech.
Thank you.
So yeah, so I have a first question. As a treasurer, one of your main responsibilities is dealing with your main expenses throughout the year, your big expenses, for example, your national conference and RODC. What system will you have going in to maintain a strong budget for your 2021 and 2022 term for the full year?
Well, to maintain a strong budget for the 2021-2022 year, I would really just place a huge emphasis on collecting membership dues and, just planning and executing as many fundraising events as possible. Like I know like a few weeks ago, I believe there was a SHEP event where we went to like Mod's Pizza, and if you told like, I believe like the cash register that you're part of SHEP, and they gave a percentage of the proceeds to SHEP. So just events such as this, and just in general collecting membership dues, I believe are gonna lead to a strong budget.
Awesome, thank you. Cindy or Andres could go next.
I have a question. Yusef, good job on your speech. It seems like you're very passionate and you have good experience. So my question to you is, you seem to have a focus on fundraising, which is great, but I want to know what your plan is. Do you have a specific plan in action, or I guess not in action, obviously, but have you thought of how your plan is going to look like, a general timeline, how many fundraisers you want to plan for each semester, each year? Or what does that look like? And what kind of events and initiatives are you thinking?
So right now, like everything is really contingent on whether we're able to like fully return to classes or fully return to in person once the semester starts. But many of the ideas that I have like been planning in my mind are really all dependent on really like being able to go in person, just because I believe that's when like fundraising is able to be the most efficient. But just a few general ideas is, for example, like we could always have like a, just like I said earlier, like a restaurant night where we can go and like we can arrange with the whatever restaurant that we're eating at, like a quarter of the proceeds to go to the chef. Or I always like think about this would probably be like one of like my main ideas, and we could do this on a weekly basis. But basically at U of H, I'm not really sure what that passageway is called. It's in front of the library, and if you keep on going straight, it leads all the way to the Fertitta Center. But there's always food stands there, and honestly, like that idea, like just having like a food stand on a weekly basis, I believe like you could raise like a significant amount of funds, which yeah, just ideas such as yeah, these ideas that I mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
We have time for one more question.
Yes, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah, very good speech. Definitely can see your passion for the chapter. So thank you, Yusef, for that. It's really two questions, but I want to see your thoughts here. What do you think Chef UH should be spending less in, and what do you think it should be spending more in?
In my opinion, I believe we need to be spending as much money as possible on sponsoring new members for RLDC and the National Convention. Like I said earlier, I believe these events right here are the highlight of SHEP, and they are basically the embodiment of SHEP's pillars, like academic development, leadership development, professional development. I mean, these are extremely important. And you know, based on my personal experience, literally every single one of my peers that has gone to one of these events has gained an insurmountable amount of not just knowledge, but they have been able to advance their professional careers. Especially in a time as hard as COVID, where you know professional development for many was like put on a halt. I do believe like when we go back to in-person classes and in-person attendance, I do believe we need to put as much emphasis as we can on, you know, getting our, not just our existing members, or not just our new members, but our existing members to just go to these events. And I believe sponsoring them is the best and most effective way.
And less, what do you think we should be spending less in?
Remember, there's no wrong answer. It's just your thought process.
I mean, like, I wouldn't say like necessarily like my thought process was like never like to, because okay, my goal would be to like spend more on like sending more members to like RLDC and like the national convention, but I wouldn't necessarily like think I wouldn't necessarily like really I don't have anything on the top of my mind really that I would like spend less on. Is this like is like the nature of the question like how would you like
Basically,
find it?
what would you prioritize? And correct me if I'm wrong, Andres, but what would you prioritize, like based on the pillars? What would you prioritize last? So you say the professional development and leadership development are definitely at the top of your focus. What would be at the bottom, or what do you think should be prioritized less in terms of funding for your budget?
In my opinion, I would say that academic development should be prioritized a little bit less, but I say that just because the university like offers like a wide range of resources for academic development. But in my opinion, like if there's like a there for a new and a young engineer, there's not that many avenues in my opinion for professional development outside of like many of like the engineering orgs within U of H. So I would definitely say like prioritize like leadership and professional development, and those would definitely be at the very top of like my list of priorities. And academic development would be like a little bit lower, but that's not to say that it's not important. It's still incredibly important. But I just think that there's other avenues for academic development that the university offers as well.
Nice. Thank you, Yusef, and thank you, Cindy, for clarifying that question.
So thank you, Yusef. All
Thank
right,
you.
guys. So we'll proceed
Go
to
Cougs.
to the next candidate.